Hey everyone, today I want to show you how to add a background design to your image. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, but um, to save you a lot of time, um, there are these things online. If you go to, oh, get all these things open. If I type in Google Chrome, like free texture gallery. So these are textures that artists have created that are free and you're allowed to use, and even for commercial products. So I have no problem with you guys using them. The only concern I have is that all these, look at all these, it's so cool. Is that all these awesome textures? I want you to do something to them. Don't just use them and call it a day. So they're stunning. So let me show you a way to do this. So first of all, I'm going to start with something, and you can see you can look for like, sometimes they're categorized like wood, abstract, etc. Kind of like in this cool one here. So I'm going to click on it, and you already know this, but of course I'm going to grab the larger version. I'm not going to grab the smaller version that's a thumbnail and that's a low res. So grab the largest possible version you can. And little trick here, if you hold on the control key and click, this comes up, and I'm going to say copy image. Okay, so control click, go back to Photoshop, and here is my design. So if I say edit, paste, little known fact is anytime you paste a new image in, it's going to create its own layer. I notice it's below or it's above one of my characters, so I'm going to put it below. And just to make this easier to see, I'll make all these invisible. And then, of course, I'm going to grab my Move tool and under Show Transform Controls, make sure that's clicked. Hold down the Shift key and make this bigger. And obviously, some of this is going to end up being larger than the image. That's okay, but just fix that and then hit the checkbox. So obviously, you might want to move this around to make this work, but that's the first part of this. It's not enough because it still looks just like the original image, as beautiful as it is. And that looks like a pretty decent resolution. So I'm going to go back again to Chrome, and I'm very, very different from this one. I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for just yet. I really don't know. So many options. And sometimes you just don't know, and you just have to try out a couple things, and that's my advice. Don't just grab two things, put them together, and say, okay, I'm done. Experiment. So I'm going to, oh, this one's interesting. I'm going to grab this, and again, control, click, copy image, back to Photoshop, edit, paste, and boom, there it is on top of the other one. Make it larger, decide if I want it placed differently, hit the checkbox. So here's the fun part. It's not just that, it's the interaction between these two images. So what I'm going to do is, if I click on the top layer, so I've got layer 2 and layer 1, and layer 2 is the red design on top, and I go up here where it says normal. These are my blending modes. Check this out. So like this is overlay. Look at that. So I can literally have the images interact with each other. And depending on which option I pick, some are going to show up more than others. But I can literally have them interact with each other in some very different ways. And some of these, again, like I said, will show up very differently on top of each other. But what I like about this, that's cool, is that in the process of doing this, it no longer looks like either of the original textures. Like I've created something kind of new. And I can even take it a bit further. Like I can click on the little yin-yang symbol here and go to invert, for example. And I get like a reversal of it. And that's really neat. So in no time at all, I have something very different. And of course, it's not just the texture I create. It's, what does that look like with all this? So that looks pretty cool. Whereas if I take away invert, that also looks neat. The general idea behind this is whatever you do choose to do should complement your design, not distract from it. So as you're working on this, that's something to think about. Like I don't want a very blue background against a letter. So I'm going to continue to adjust this and make it work so that it works. I really like that. And that's how you would create a texture design behind your image.